On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, buy or sell the biggest Thunder topics through the first week of the year.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LO Thunderpod. Joining us today is Joe Mussatto of the Oklahoman at Joe_Mussatto on Twitter. OKC Dream Team as well. We had an all-time Dream Team episode on Sunday, Joe, which I have repented for, but we're going to be better tomorrow. Joe, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, we should probably keep this a little more PG since it's the daytime. But I'm doing great, Rylan. It's always a pleasure to pod with you on whatever pod we're on.
Any pod, anytime, anywhere. I love talking to Joe. And Joe, we've seen 3 games. The 4th will be very fun. Spurs in town, Wemby, Chet tonight. Joe, what's been your biggest takeaway through the first 3 games of this season?
My biggest takeaway is that the Thunder isn't even playing its best basketball. I know no one really is. No one's in midseason form, but I'm specifically talking on the offensive end. Shots are going to start falling, and yet this team, even without shots falling, has blown everybody out. No one has even played them closely. They've got the best defensive rating in the NBA by a mile. If they sustain it, they will not. They will be the best defensive team of all time. So I don't think that's going to happen, Rylan. But the defense has just been so dominant that it tells you how good this team is going to be. Like even when, night-to-night shot variance goes against them.
Joe, you are the columnist for the Oklahoman. You've put out plenty of Thunder columns already this season, including your bold predictions, which you've already backed off of one with the rookies playing in
sorry, AJ Mitchell.
AJ Mitchell, he was not familiar with your game entering the year. But is there anything from the preseason that maybe you had questions about, or maybe you didn't go as all in on as you wanted to? Has anything changed about how you view this team 3 games in?
I'm not going to take any victory laps so far, but I think I said that Chet Holmgren was going to be their second leading scorer, and through 3 games, Rylan, he is ahead of Jalen Williams. As far as like bold predictions, no. But like one of the things that really jumps out to me, like a number I am keeping an eye on, is the 3-point attempts from one Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because right now it is at 7.7, which leads the team. And even if he finishes like 6 would be high. I think 5 would be certainly an improvement, a jump from where he was last year, but just kind of his concerted effort to kind of go against the most comfortable part of his game and kind of not force threes, but kind of force himself to take threes, if that makes any sense. I don't know what the distinction there is, but clearly like Shai wants to be as efficient as possible. And, we talked about this on Dream Team, wants to be above 50% shooting. He's below that now, but I don't mind it at all because he has taken so many more threes.
Yeah, the increased 3-point volume is huge. You did mention that your bold prediction so far is true of Chet, being second in the team in scoring. What's been your biggest element for Chet as an improvement point 3 games into year 2?
He just, I mean, I know this is kind of a cop-out answer, but he just looks more comfortable out there. He looks, I don't know if he is stronger. I think he's playing stronger. And I think it's just having, going into year 2 with, this being his 3rd NBA season. The remarkable part is, he's not shooting the 3 ball well either. And he's still at 23.7 points per game. But really, it's not the offense with Chet. It's the defense. He has just been so dominant on that end of the floor. And really setting the tone early from being the best player on the floor that first night in Denver. And he he has been. Is it too early to crown a MVP through 3 games? Probably so, but I would say that Chet Holmgren has been the Thunder's MVP so far.
Wow, Chet Holmgren, the
Whoa.
MVP. You heard it here first,
Yeah, buy
folks.
that, Rylan.
We're gonna buy and sell coming up. But Joe, I do think that you hit the nail on the head here with Chet, talking about his comfortability. You can call it, comfortability, confidence, whatever. I do think that what you're seeing, what's led to an uptick and gotten him to that second in points per game kind of mark, has been a flip being switched on his mentality of a year ago. He was passing up some really quality looks. He was passing up some chances that you want to see your second or third option take, instead of working for a great shot for somebody else, for a great shot for somebody who isn't your second or third option. Instead, he's just taking those chances, that he's, earned and deserves and everything. So I think that him being more comfortable and confident in himself to just take a good shot, you don't have to always work for a perfect shot. It's been a welcomed sign, and it's the difference in this team getting over the hump or not.
Yeah, I think you want him to be aggressive because at times um, he was a little timid, I think, last year, especially when it came to the 3-point shot. And he already carries himself with so much confidence. I don't think he lacks in that category at all, but you kind of want Chet to be arrogant in a way, to know how good he is, and that no one can really stop him on either end, because might end up being a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It very well could. But Joe, the stock market is open. We're going to open it here on Locked On Thunder. Buy or sell these Thunder topics, the first 3 games of the year, all coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at Game Time, folks. Game Time is incredible. Go check them out today, because at Game Time, you have all-in pricing, which you can toggle that feature on, and it shows you your entire total up front. No surprises at checkout. You have a view from your seat, with a panoramic view from your seat. If you've never been there before, maybe you're traveling with OU football to these SEC venues you haven't been to before, you can see exactly what you're going to get into. They also have the lowest prices guaranteed, and I think that Game Time is perfect for NBA season, because in the NBA, you don't really know who's going to play until right up against tip-off, and that's why Game Time, where you get the lowest prices and the last-minute tickets, it's perfect for you. So go download the Game Time app. Create your account today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And again, create your account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Go download the Game Time app today, because what time is it? Game time. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, talking to Joe Mussatto of the Oklahoman, columnist over there, covering OU football, OSU, athletics, and the Thunder, and everything. Really, you did bull riding last year. You did a lot, Joe.
I'm
really
just going to
proud
cover
of
the
you.
Thunder now. Forget OU and OSU. They stink.
Yeah, you should. You should transition fully and go back to being the Thunder beat writer. I mean, get Joel out of there, and that's a conversation. But buy or sell, Joe. We're going to just run through these. You tell me.
This is capitalism at its best right here.
It is. You're going to tell me if you're going to buy these topics or sell these topics. First item on the agenda, which you've already kind of alluded to, kind of poo-pooed. Joe, this Thunder team will be historic.
I'm going to buy that. Because you left me a big enough opening where they don't need to be historic by NBA standards, but they could be historic by Thunder standards. And that was one of my bold predictions going into the year, that this was going to be the best Thunder team ever by net rating. And if they get above 10, they will reach that point. So I think they'll make history in probably a lot of ways. I don't think we're going to again, like I alluded to at the top, see this team be the best defensive team of all time, because modern math is working against you with the 3-point shot. It's virtually impossible. But I don't know. I mean, just some of the lineups they can throw out defensively, like maybe we see some crazy steals number or something like that. And yeah, I think they'll make history, Rylan.
Historic season is upon us, Joe.
What are you thinking there?
I'm buying it as well. I think that this team. I mean, you just look at them, and I talked about this on Monday. The way that they can just go on an avalanche, where on Sunday you were in a 2-possession game to start the fourth quarter, and you blew out the Hawks. Like that type of stuff is going to win you a ton of regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trusting this Thunder team to outwork teams, out effort teams, out defend teams, and in 99% of games be more talented than teams, it's going to be tough to beat them routinely. And then you can rack up a ton of wins. You can have a historic defense for the modern standards of the calculations, and all you pocket protectors out there with your abacuses and everything else that you track all that stuff with.
Or is it abaci?
Your abacais. Thank you, Joe. See,
no, I don't know if that's right. I never know when to put the I on the end of the plurals. Good thing I don't write for a living. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you can always just Google it, figure it out. Octopi, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Joe, I'm buying it.
Further.
And I think that the way that we're phrasing the question, it also like makes you have to buy it, because in some way, I think this team will be historic. I mean, you saw how much history that they made last year. Technically, they made history being the youngest ever team to win get the number 1 overall seed and do all that stuff. So I just think that this team will have another season where nearly every game you're getting a tweet that like this is the first time since blank or ever that this has happened in these games. So, Joe, next item on the agenda, next item on the board. Revolving starters, 3 games, 3 different starters. This is a zag from where it was a year ago, where as long as Giddey was healthy, Shai was healthy, Dort was healthy, Jada and Chet were healthy, that was your starting 5. Now it's 3 games, 3 different units. There's still a long way to go in this year, though, and you can never really predict what Mark's going to do. Buy or sell, the revolving door of starters is here to stay.
I'm going to keep my wallet in my pocket, and I'm going to sell, because it's just hard to imagine them continuing to do something that would be so unprecedented. And I think it was a bit of a misnomer last year. We all talk about how much Mark Daigneault changes things up, how unpredictable his rotations are. That is partly true. However, his starting lineup was as predictable as you could get. And even when people were calling earlier than, game 5 of the Mavs series for Josh Giddey to be benched, Mark stuck with that lineup, even if it meant Giddey, starting and finishing the game with 8 minutes played or something like that. So I sold this at the beginning of the season. No one asked me, but I was selling it in my head that they would just do kind of a revolving door at this spot. I think they're going to eventually settle on Alex Caruso, which feels bold considering they haven't even called his name yet for the starting lineup. Who knows how Hartenstein's return is going to impact this, but I think we're going to get to the point where we know who the Thunder is starting, and it's not like a parlor game we play before tip-off every night.
A parlor game. There's a great Elvis song that has the word parlor in it, and I really just found out what a parlor is because of that song. But anyway,
shout out Elvis.
Had to sneak it in there. Are You Lonesome Tonight, by the way, is a song if you want to go listen to that.
What percent of Locked On episodes do you think Elvis gets name dropped?
I would say it's probably only like a 2% rate, because I don't have enough
2%. I feel like every time I'm on, we talk about.
Well, yeah, but see, I have you to riff off of whenever I have when I have someone to riff off of, I can really get Elvis in there. But Joe, I hope that the chairs in your parlor are not empty, but neither are our wallets, because I'm not buying this either. I think that you can call it bold as you did. You can call it dying on a hill, whatever. I still believe too that it'll be Caruso who falls into that starting role. This just feels like, we're trying all the guys that were here last year. We're giving them shots to win it. But then once you see Caruso in that starting unit, setting a tone, like once you see those things happen, you're just going to fall into that being your group. And I know that there's still some people out there who support the idea of the Thunder playing two bigs and starting Hartenstein. Listen, I think that can be a really good curveball and a really good out pitch, if you will, against certain matchups. But it's not going to be your fastball. Like, you see how good this team is with Chet as the center. Hartenstein does the same thing of like letting you have four uber talented defenders on the perimeter, and Hartenstein cleans it up at the rim. Like, the model of that is going to be the bread and butter of this Thunder team, I think. So while I do think that you're going to see two big lineups getting played, and you're going to see them use that to change up games in the course of it, I don't know that you're going to see them start with it. So I'm still going to stick with our preseason talk of Caruso over Hartenstein, and Caruso is the main starter with the core four.
Also, like, we have a full season and now 3 games of sample to back up in our defense why Hartenstein isn't going to be a regular starter. I mean, they were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference last year. We all think they're going to be the number 1 seed in the West this year, and they've played with Chet at the 5. So why on earth would they switch that up? Like, they want to play small. They want to kind of force teams to bend to their will and not the other way around. And I'm with you. Like, sure, we're going to see spurts of it. We're going to see those two play alongside each other a lot more than we saw Chet and Jay Will play alongside each other. But to think they're going to start more than just like a one-off type thing, I'll tell you what, I'm not buying that.
Not buying that, but Joe, we still have plenty of topics to go. So get your wallet ready, because we will be buying and selling stuff all day long coming up. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Check out Locked On NBA, the national show, where we have 2 shows in one feed. Game nights every single night after the NBA action, Monday through Sunday. After the Saturday slate, I'll be on it, Locked On NBA, every week, giving you the recap of Saturday, plus our midday show with Matt Moore and Swipa, talking about the biggest stories of the day. Joe Mussatto joining us today. Joe, the columnist of the Oklahoman, former Thunder beat writer. Maybe you'll make a return to the seat, but obviously you're going to stay as a columnist, talking about everything. You're the expert. You're the I guess you could say, concierge of Oklahoma sports.
I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I have a lot of time pretending.
You do it well. You do it well, Joe. But we're buying and selling items. The next item is one I'm going to leave up to interpretation for you again. I'm just going to say his name. Buy or sell, Ousmane Dieng.
So it feels so mean to do. I think this kind of early season look at it is good for Ousmane and good for the Thunder. That if there's one of the silver linings to Hartenstein's injury, it's this, because Ousmane Dieng, even though he's been around a few years now, he's still younger than AJ Mitchell. He's younger than Dylan Jones. Like, the Thunder doesn't want to close the book just yet on the Ousmane Dieng experience. They read the Poku book for a long, long, long time before they I was going to say burned. I don't want to go there, but now I've said it.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, they had Poku go the way of the glass bottle milk, but go ahead with Oos.
With Oos, I just don't really buy that he's going to be a lasting player in Oklahoma City. Not sure if he's going to have an NBA future. Like, if you ask me, is he in the league 3 years from now? I'd probably lean no. So that's why I'm selling, but I'm buying the opportunity that Ousmane Dieng is getting.
Okay, so I'm going to buy Oos. I'm glad we have a disagreement here. And the reason I left it up to interpretation is, I wrote about him today on Thunder on SI. You can go check that out from Tuesday morning. But Joe, I'm buying that he can be like a rotational player. And by that, I don't mean like a key, top 8 guy, but he can be a bench piece for your roster, because he's just got a overall great feel for the system. He understands the system. He's playing more aggressively now. And I think that whenever you see Hartenstein and Jay Will and Kenrich come back, yeah, the overall minutes will shrink for Oos, but the minutes that he does get will be in a more natural spot playing the 4 that I think can make him look a little bit better as well. So I just think that he's an NBA contributor in some way. Still just 21 years old, still going to progress. Still, I think, going to play with the G League some to stretch his legs a little bit during these stretches where you have a full healthy roster and it's tougher to get him on the floor. So I'm buying now that we've actually seen what we've been watching in the G League for 2 years transition into the NBA. I'm going to sprinkle some money onto this stock, if you will, however you would phrase that in the real Wall Street corner of things, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not big on the stock market.
Surprising that 2 journalists can't get into the stock market. But
my question for you, Rylan, is this isn't just a this year question, but moving forward in the NBA career of Ousmane Dieng, like what are his plus attributes?
I think that he has good positional size of his natural position where he can play, 1 through 3, 1 through 4, especially. And then in a pinch like this, he can play the 5 a little bit. You don't want to like build your team around the idea of Oos being a small ball 5, but he's really fluid. I think that he has an overall understanding of defense and positioning. And so if his body continues to mature at the rate it has to this point and at the rate you would project it to heading into his prime, he can become a really high-end defender. And then offensively, he's got these guard-like skills as a wing. If that three-point shot becomes consistent, is the big swing factor. For him to stick in the league for a long time, he has to have a consistent 3-ball. Right now, it's not there at any level, even the G League. It's got to get there eventually, but it could. And he's got the defense that is worth staying on the floor. So I just think that already having that one NBA trait is something to build upon for a guy who you always knew was going to be a project. But we'll see. We'll see who ends up being right. I look forward to the Locked On Thunder pod in a couple of years when we know the answer to that.
Well, I'm not gonna cheer for the
right.
the demise.
We don't cheer for anything. We're professionals.
Of Ousmane Dieng, but
there are some people that cheer at games.
I'm not buying his guard-like skills. I think he's maybe has good vision and
he's got smooth handles for a 6'10", 6'11" guy.
For his size, I just don't think that's really being used yet.
Yeah, but they can use it in other ways, like the connective passing.
Yeah.
Whenever you saw him in this game, get a ball on the perimeter, cut, dive inside and kick it out.
He's got to become much more. He's got the tools to be a good defender. I think he's got to get stronger. And I know I sound like a 5th grade coach, but I think he's got to get meaner on the defensive end of the floor. And
attitude.
You said it. It all hinges on the shot, as it does for a lot of role players in the league.
Yeah, and that's the modern world we live in, Joe. Whenever you look at this next one, I think that we're both going to put a lot of money on it, considering our preseason talks. But I did tell you in the preseason that you are allowed to change your mind once we have our next pod, which happens to be 3 games in. So buy or sell, the Thunder will get multiple All-Stars.
Did I buy this?
I think you did, but now you have a chance. You have a clean slate. So buy or sell,
buying it.
We'll get multiple All-Stars.
I'm buying it, and I think it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren.
Okay,
I think those are going to be the 2 All-Stars. I couldn't remember what I said in the preseason, but I did write about Chet being an All-Star this year, so I should have just answered with authority. Buying, Rylan. And I feel like this is a good bet because multiple reasons, really. If they're just crushing teams and they have a 5-game lead atop the West going into the All-Star break, it's going to be one of those conversations where everyone's saying, well, the Thunder deserves at least 2 guys. So I think that's going to be one factor. There was a second factor that I was going to... Oh, the second factor, it doesn't have... One is an almost certainty to make the All-Star team if he stays healthy, and that's Shai. Then, I think more people would say Dub than Chet, although maybe Chet's been so good through 3 games that's already flipped. But you give yourself 2 bites at the apple, and if I know anything about the Thunder, they love bites at the apple.
They do. That apple is not the one that Eve ate. It's the good stuff for the Thunder. Biblical humor, I guess. Now, I would say I'm buying this.
Oh,
Obviously,
nice.
before the year, I did say the Thunder would have 3 All-Stars, so I've gonna have to buy this for that prediction to become true. J-Dub has not played an All-Star level quite yet, but I think that he will probably as soon as tonight. So I'm going to say multiple All-Stars. I would invest in this penny stock like with everything I had. I'd get sold by some wolf on Wall Street about this, but that's
Just
where we're
for
at.
2,
Joe.
right? Not for like I
Yeah,
know
just for
3.
2, multiple. Yeah, just for
Okay.
2.
Okay, I know 3 is your bold prediction. I just wanted
Yeah.
to know that.
And 3 would still be encompassing. 2 would be encompassing. Just got to be more than 1,
Yeah,
Joe.
so would 4.
Yeah, I mean, let's just have 6 in there.
Shout out Case Wallace.
Goose gets in there with the All-Star weekend.
Yeah, no, I really like this bet. Of all the buys or sells, I think I'm buying this one the most.
Buy or sell, Joe. The next topic is Sunday will go down in Dream Team history.
Okay, please, everyone, go listen to Rylan's performance. I'm buying this. I'm backing up the Brinks truck as we speak. It was an all-time performance. Make sure the sun is down when you press play, because
Kids are not around.
It's only suitable for after dark. I have a lot of fun on post-game pods, and I will say that, Rylan, you are one of the main reasons for that. It just it got a little goofy. That's all I can say.
Got a little zany. Joe, I really appreciate you hopping on Locked On Thunder. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Let them know if anything you want to plug to get cooking up at the Oklahoman.
Yeah, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be out at the old Thunderdome Paycom Center quite a bit this season, especially when as our football teams that we've talked about aren't very good right now. So all of my stuff at Joe_Mussatto on Twitter, Oklahoman.com. You can find all of our stuff there. Joel does some great Thunder coverage for us. So I'll have some columns every now and then. And yeah, we're gonna cover this season all together, Rylan, and probably be doing it for a long time, deep into the summer, I would guess.
I would take that bet. I'd buy that topic, Joe, about deep into the summer. Go check out the Oklahoman. Love their stuff. Even Justin Martin doing great stuff with the Thunder coverage. So they have a great team over there. You can also check out Thunder on SI and Locked On Thunder, of course. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.